Jackson, look here.
Okay, no one mentioned that pole beans or the needle beans trellis. Yeah, no one mentioned that as I was in the middle of just pulling everything down.
I didn't know there was one on there.
He did.
Is it the one that used to be on the tomatillos?
Yeah, it moved.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks, guys. I like set this huge pile of stuff down, and then I'm going to grab another piece. I look down, and there's just that huge spider sitting there. And I was like, I almost died.
It happened to me over there because I pulled one thing off one side of a trellis and it moved to the other side, and I started pulling that thing up and it got stuck like in the last clump. I reached up there, I was like, oh, tunnel. And then they like drilled it. It's so bad.
I haven't
She's
seen
got
this one.
herself
I've
some
seen
dinner.
The arachnophobia.
Like,
You gonna touch it?
and these
I don't
people are
know.
like, oh my god.
The web,
Like,
just don't
running
mess it up.
past the whole movie.
You can just barely touch it. It's pretty thick.
Like AR-15 rounds
Oh,
just
okay.
bounce off of them.
It's neat, huh?
Like,
Yeah.
Look at this. My blue butterfly peas that took so long to get started. I bet they will thrive now that there's no competition all around them. Aren't those lovely? Check out this Reza Macedonian pepper. Isn't that so neat? Etched. The garden looks different, huh?
Yeah.
So like stuff with planters
Just because you're trying to plant your fall garden.
Yeah. Hey dudes. So here's a fun fact. Snake beans turn bright orange when they get really ripe. These feel like fluid filled. We just let these go just to see what would happen. Isn't that wild? I saw it from the window up there. I saw the bright orange. I was like, what is that? And I came down because it started like this. Isn't that bizarre? Also, these are banana melons growing amongst the snake beans here because they reseeded from last year. And one of the plants got by in the foliage. I missed it. I thought that was kind of funny. So obviously some things are staying. Like here's some melons that are still really healthy, some zinnias. These are absolutely gorgeous. They grew really big and tall. What are your thoughts on this?
On which one?
Just the garden and the state that it's in?
I feel pretty good about it.
Why do I feel so emotional? This is an emotional thing to me.
You feel emotions about a lot of things.
So there is something very unique about the fall garden. And this morning, we're still in August. It's still hot, but not right now. We're about to get some storms. So it's like 70 degrees out here and the birds are singing. And you know, it's one of those moments where you can just almost feel it. You can almost feel like a coolness in the breeze. You can feel the season shifting. And I don't know, there's something about the fall garden that is really, really precious. I don't know, it's nice to be out in it. It's not as physically difficult to be out because, you know, in the summer it's just really hard. There's not as much work because it's a different nature of things. You're growing a lot of roots and a lot of leafy things, so it's not as much pruning and staking and all of that. It's different, it's a different feel. One thing I've decided to do this year is we're going to like reconfigure the trellises for next year's spring garden. And right now most of the arches still have stuff growing on them, and the ones that don't, I'm gonna go ahead and replant with some cucumbers for a second harvest of those, and some beans and stuff. But all of the walls of trellises, which we've grown primarily tomatoes on in the past, all of those are coming down, and we're going to just like redo all of the trellises next year. So now we're taking them all down, which is gonna change the look of this place a lot. So now we're gonna have multiple beds that just don't have any trellising in them, and these are going to be the ones that we put row covers over to grow through this winter. This is just the last couple of days. It's been very wet. And I'm gonna leave these arches up. So this is where I'm primarily gonna plant for my fall stuff, because I can get another round of noodle beans in. And I may plant some things. I may look and see what I could plant that could last a little bit into the cold weather. But all the other arches, as they finish up, I'm just gonna go ahead and take them down, because all the other trellises are gonna get moved for the spring. These are not. These will stay here next year, just because that's just the best way to use these short beds. Wow guys, this is gonna look so different. What are you doing, Gary? What's up, dude? Look how open that makes this. It's crazy. We were just discussing how we want to handle our amendments for fall. Now typically what we do is in the spring and in the fall we just come in and we put a couple of inches of fresh compost down, and that's typically the only thing that I do to fertilize our garden. Other than occasionally I will mix in some rabbit poop whenever I'm able to get it from other people around here, and of course we have the alpacas now, and once this summer I mixed in some alpaca poop. But I think we're gonna start kind of mixing that into the compost more to be able to put out. So we're just kind of trying to decide how we want to go about putting the amendments in for fall, because we're also putting in our irrigation system soon, here in the next like few weeks. So many projects. So I don't know, we're figuring it out. I've got a little time to decide. Right now we're still gonna have to just continue getting everything cleaned out. We have a burn pile over here. All the tomatoes that got sick, they'll all be burned. Everything else we will give to our pigs. And then we're going to start making a plan on what we want to do after the irrigation system is put in, where we're going to put row covers, and that will tell me where I need to plant things in the garden for fall. Oh, Gary, did you catch a bug?
That's a squash bug. Let me eat it.
It's not a squash bug. It's like a big moth or something.
Oh,
Oh.
it's a moth, poor thing. Gary, why are you killing the moths?
The other day, Gary had a locust, and the kids brought in this massive wing and put it on a paper plate and sat at the table looking at it for like 20 minutes. They were so excited about it. They were praising Gary's prowess for catching them something so cool to study. So all of these trellises are coming down, and then these beds will be able to be hooped. These are staying, and then this wall of trellis is coming down now, but all of these are going to be out before the fall comes, I believe. And so I'm trying to decide. I think we're probably just going to have to see how much the materials cost to decide how many hoops we're going to put over these beds. I don't know that we'll do all of them, but we might. Another thing that I have to consider while I'm kind of mentally sketching this out is where the garlic is going to go, because I would like to plant a lot more garlic this year than I did last year. One lesson that the garden has driven home, more than anything else I've ever experienced in my life, is that seasons change. And that it's sometimes bittersweet, sometimes it's exciting. It's just largely just the way that life is. I remember the realization, like whenever we moved onto our farm, which it's been a little over 5 years. We moved into this house in April 2014, and there was nothing here. There was no infrastructure, no fences, no coops, no gardens, nothing. And it was August of 2014 that I brought home our first chickens with no infrastructure to keep them. And so I guess that was kind of the beginning of us doing what we do. It was a little bit of a reckless start. I digress. The thing is, now, 5 years into doing this, I think one of the most marked differences in our lives is, and I didn't even realize it before we were, homesteading or hobby farming, whatever you want to call it, Before, I think the seasons of our life were kind of marked by what was on the shelves at the store. You know, you go in and it's like, oh, they've got the back to school supplies out already. Oh, they put swimsuits on the racks already. And it's just like, you kind of become aware of the seasons based on what's being marketed to you. And the thing is that, like, I went into a store the other day here in August and they already had Christmas stuff out. And it's kind of disorienting, you know, like when your seasons are like that. But then moving out on the farm, you just become so acutely aware of what's happening, like with the weather, when it's raining, when the weather changes just a little bit. And I don't know, I think I'm so thankful that that's been restored to me, because it's really a precious thing to have that awareness. Just like days like today, an August day that just has the slightest coolness in the breeze, and you just have this sense of anticipation because you know the seasons are about to change, and you make preparation for that. And it is bittersweet. It's bittersweet for me to come down to the garden and see it naked this way, but it's exciting because we're moving into a new season that has all new things to enjoy. Romantic notions about farming.
I'm like, you know, I'm pretty sure she's getting teary-eyed.
Oh, I am a little teary-eyed. So our plan of putting mulch in the walkways didn't work at all. However, we do have this ground cover that grows. It's got these little white flowers. I would really love to know if anybody knows what this is. This grows really tightly close to the ground, and of course it's really pretty, but we were thinking it would be really cool if we could encourage this to grow throughout the walkways of the garden, because like here, the places where it's growing, it chokes out everything else. I love walking on flowers like this. It doesn't require any mowing, so it's also very soft. So we were thinking, okay, well maybe if we can encourage this throughout all our walkways, that would be a good thing. But first we need to know what it is. I expect this place is going to look even more different the next time you guys see it. Bittersweet, wholly necessary. Seasons change. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We bless you. Until next time.